Hello, 5th grade. Today we will be working on lesson 8-6, rename mixed numbers as fractions. And here in front of me I have the mixed number 1 1/2. And I want to rename that as an improper fraction. So that means I need to have it all halves, no whole numbers. So I know that 1 whole equals 2 halves. So here I have 2 halves plus 1/2 would equal 3 halves. So 1 1/2 can also be written as 3 halves because I have 1, 2, 3 halves. All right, what if I have 3 1/2? I have 3 1/2. I know that each whole equals 2 halves. So I could rename each whole as 2 halves. So here's 2 halves and 2 halves and 2 halves. So I have 2 halves plus 2 halves plus 2 halves plus 1/2. So that's 2, 4, 6, 7 halves. So 3 1/2 is 7 halves. Or maybe I won't have halves this time. Let's use a different denominator. Let's say I have 2 2/3 instead. 2 2/3. And I want to rename that as an improper fraction. 2 2/3. I know that's 1 plus 1 plus 2/3. And each whole is 3/3. I need to rename everything as thirds. So there I have 3/3 plus 3/3 plus the 2/3 that I already had. So 3/3 plus 3/3 plus 2/3. So that would be 3, 6, 7, 8. That equals 8/3. Or maybe I'll have 6ths instead of thirds this time. Let's have 1 2/6. And I want to rename that as an improper fraction. 1 2/6. There I have 1 plus 2/6. And I want to rename that. So I know that my whole is equal to 6/6. Look at 6/6 and put it on here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there's 6/6 plus 2/6 equals 8/6. So 1 2/6 equals 8/6. Now in your workbook on page 135, you're asked to draw models on 1 through 6. I'm going to do a couple of those with you. So number 1 says 2 1/5. So I know that I need to have 2 wholes. So this is 135. Now I'm drawing 2 1/5. So I need 1 whole. I'm doing rectangles because circles are hard to divide into fifths. 2 wholes. And then I need another whole to make my 1/5. So there's 1, 2, and 1/5. So I'm going to take this rectangle and divide it into fifths. I'm shading 1/5. So I have 1, 2, and 1/5. But I know that each of these holes I could divide into fifths. And if it's a whole, I would need to shade in all 5/5. So I have 5/5 plus 5/5 plus 1/5, which would equal 11/5. So that's the picture you need to draw on number 2. No, number 1. All right, let's look at number 2. Number 2 is 3 3/4. I'm going to use circles this time because fourths are easy to do with circles. So 1, 2, 3. There are my 3 holes. I'm going to draw one more circle for my 3/4. So I have 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus, let me shade in 3/4, 3/4. All right, so I need to change my wholes to fourths. So 4/4, 4/4, and 4/4. Shade in 4/4 in all of my holes. So that's 4/4 plus 4/4 plus 4/4. So that's 12/4 plus 3/4 equals 15/4. So 3 3/4 equals 15/4. I'm going to do one more of those with a model, then we're going to go to some without a model. All right, let's look at number 5. Number 5 says 3 1/3. But I can do circles for that also. So 1, 2, 3, and then I need to draw one more so I can get my third in there. So just put a Y in there. That'll give you your thirds. So there's my 1/3. So that's 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1/3. It's 3 1/3. But I need to make all my wholes into thirds. So there's 1, 2, 3/3 there, and then 3/3 here, and 3/3 on this hole. So I have to add my 3/3 plus 3/3 plus 3/3 is 9/3, plus 1/3 makes 10/3. So 3 1/3 equals 10/3. So on the top part on page 135, that's what you're going to do. You're going to draw the models for all of those. I have done 3 of them with you. But the bottom part just tells you to rename each as an improper fraction. Well, there are steps to do. We don't have to draw a model every time. So let's take number 7, 6 1/2. Okay. I know that for each whole number, I have 2 halves. So I'd have to multiply. 6 times 2 would be 12. 12 halves would equal 6. Plus this 1 extra half equals 13. So 6 1/2 is 13 halves. So what you do is you multiply the whole number times the denominator, and then you add the numerator. So whole number times denominator plus numerator. So whole number times denominator plus numerator. Those are the steps. Whole number times denominator plus numerator. Your denominator is going to stay the same. It will not change to anything else. So let's look at number 8. Number 8 says 3 6/7. So whole number times denominator. 3 times 7 is 21. And then plus numerator. 21 plus 6 would be 27. So this would equal 27/7. And you can check and make sure you're right, because 7 goes into 27 3 times with 6 left over. 3 6/7. Okay, so remember, whole number times denominator plus numerator. Don't change your denominator. Keep it the same. So number 9 says 3 1/8. So whole number times denominator. 3 times 8 is 24. Plus 1 equals 25. 25/8. Okay. And let's do number 21. 21 says 2 11/18. So I need to do my whole number times my denominator. Whole number times denominator. 2 times 18 equals 36 plus 11. 36 plus 11 would be 47. So this would equal 47/18.